Hi everyone, it's Angie in the flesh, I guess. I wanted to have a little recap with you of the last year because we've played together some games and we probably all have some more thoughts about some of these games because I don't know how about you, but usually when I finish the game, I still go over it in my head like a few weeks after I finish it. So I don't get to share those thoughts with you because usually when I finish the gameplay, it's just done. I know I could be doing a review, but it's too much work. Yeah, and because I'm lazy and I like to just share my thoughts on a go, I just like to, improvise. Then I usually regret it, but whatever. Anyway, considering that we finished 2019 and we are now in 2020, I was thinking that, you know what, I would like to go through this stuff that we did last year and through the games that you could have seen on my channel. And I was thinking that maybe we would just go through them together, think about it, what happened, what are they, and in any case I will give you links to those games, to my videos if you want to go back and see them again, or if you want to check out the games yourself, then I'll put the links in the description. If you want to, I don't know, on Steam, on Humble, on GOG, whatever, I'll just put the links in the description. But right now, tea break. Yes, hydrate. Always remember to hydrate. Otherwise, your voice will just not work. To be honest, nothing will work in your organism if you don't hydrate, but whatever. Anyway, last year, 2019, we started last year finishing up some series. The first one was Observer. It, in my opinion, I wouldn't say it was a great game, because it had some pros and it had some cons. There were certain aspects that I didn't like. There were certain motives that I didn't like, but overall, I think the game had an amazing story. It had an amazing, in my opinion, potential, and it had this premise, very interesting, and plot twist. I really liked the plot twist at the end, although it fell into the category it didn't matter what you choose, the outcome was still the same. Yeah, but I think in the time when we are, I think, slowly moving away from the Your Choice Matters games, we are slowly, I would say that there's a trend of slowly going back to single player experiences when there is a certain story that the game follows, and it doesn't matter what choices you make during the game. Some people might find it uncomfortable or annoying, I don't know. For me, it's just that's the story. You don't always have to be the master of the universe, I guess. Anyway, Observer. The most interesting thing in this game is that the action takes place in my country. Well, the developer is a Polish company, so no wonder, but there were certain things that I could easily recognize. For example, the map of the city, I could easily recognize that and tell you what something is and where. The game had the vibe of Poland, I guess. There were certain things that definitely worked for me in this game, because as you may know if you follow me for some time, I am Polish. Anyway, if I were supposed to rate Observer on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 7, I think. It's not a groundbreaking game. I wish they did more with this mechanic that they were selling very hard during the promotion material, that you can hack into people's minds. I was hoping that it would be more of a detective story, but this is more of a daddy issue story, and you are the daddy and you are the issue. Anyway, Another game that I've been playing for a long time last year was Dreamfall. It was it's a complicated, because overall in the series it's a second game, because there was The Longest Journey, then there was Dreamfall, and then there was Dreamfall Chapters. But Ragnar, one of the creators, was telling that like Dreamfall is a separate series. It just happens in the same universe or something, whatever. So basically there's The Longest Journey, which is a separate game, and then there's Dreamfall, and then Dreamfall Chapters. Anyway, Dreamfall Chapters I played in 2018, I think, and then in 2019 I finished Dreamfall first, second game, first in Dreamfall series, I think. Is a tough one to judge for me, to be honest, because if I were to judge it as a separate game from The Longest Journey, I would say it's pretty okay. It has its moments, but because they took my favorite character from The Longest Journey, and they didn't treat her well, let's say, especially in Dreamfall Chapters. Just rest in peace, April. Yeah, then I dislike this game. I dislike it very much, to be honest. And I think the motives, the mechanics that they decided to implement, like fighting mechanic or sneaking, were bad. Just bad, just not good. It was a risky move, and I don't think it paid off. That's simple. So I think Dreamfall had certain things that could be handled better. And I remember that I read on the internet, because Zoe is a terrible protagonist in my opinion. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for saying that. And when I tried playing, like somebody said on the internet, but oh, she clearly has depression. So I was looking at it through this lens, like, oh, you know what? If she has depression, then I can understand some of her motives and some of her actions and some of her decisions. But then, of course, Ragnar, one of the creators, had to say, no, she doesn't have depression. And I was like, oh, okay, she's just a horrible person. I'm not saying that people with depression are horrible people. I know that it's a very horrible illness, and I know that it can affect how people think and how they act. And I know that sometimes it's stronger than them. Sometimes they cannot control it. But if Zoe didn't have any problems, let's say mental problems, and she made certain decisions that I think weren't the best, I'm sorry, I just dislike her. So yeah, let's finish with the Dreamfall. I also played a game called Turing Test. It was a very interesting premise, because in this game you weren't playing as I don't want to say you didn't play as the protagonist. You didn't play as the human woman, although at the beginning it might appear as such. You were playing as the AI, and it was very interesting. And in this game, your decision certainly had some weight. I very much liked this game. I think it was very interesting. I think it was written very good. I think it had very interesting, it touched interesting problems, and overall I would even say that gameplay was pretty neat. I like puzzle games because mostly those were puzzles that the computer needed his human companion to help him solve, and we were supposed to be like a little bit like this human companion. Anyway, this was one of the games that touched about what it means to be human and how can we differentiate between human behavior and computer behavior. And to be honest, I also learned a lot. I didn't know about certain tests that you would perform to differentiate if the person on the other side of the, let's say, computer screen is a real human being or if it's an AI. And yeah, I could highly recommend this game. If I were supposed to give it like a number score from 1 to 10, then I would give it like a 9, I think. There's always room for improvement. It's not like, oh, it's a bad game. There's always room for improvement, and I don't know what a game would have to do for me to give it a 10. Apart from The Longest Journey, it's a 10 out of 10. Oh, I just remember that I forgot to give a score to Dreamfall, but let's just skip that. The next game that I played in 2019 was Scanner Sombra. I hope I say that well, as usual, because, yeah, as you know, English is not my first language, so I can stumble sometimes when reading stuff. So anyway, Scanner Sombra, very interesting game. It was sold mostly as a horror game, but I wouldn't call it like that. It was more like an exploration game, a little bit like a walking sim. It had a few moments, I think I could count them like on the fingers of my one hand, when I was seriously scared, but it wasn't because there was some kind of a jump scare. It was more likely something that I imagined that I saw something in the shadows in this game. It had very interesting mechanic. It has a amazing graphic design, in my opinion, and the plot twist at the end took me by surprise, seriously. Although, when I think about it now, I think there were certain hints that you could have picked up along the way. Numerical score, it was a bit short. But then again, it was a pretty nice closed story. I don't think they could have done anything more with that particular story. But with this mechanic, there's, I think, a lot you can do with it. 7 out of 10. Yeah. That's a healthy number in my opinion. But I don't only play, like, let's say, serious games, puzzle games, or walking sims. Although I have to admit there's a number of them on my channel. Another game that I played was Typo Man. It was a platformer game and a little bit of a puzzle game that I got from my good friend Poofy. I really liked it, although I would say it was a bit mean because, like I said, English is not my first language, and in this game it's important to know a lot of words because basically one of the key mechanics is that if you want something to happen in the game, you have to spell it out. You have to find certain letters and you have to align them to create a word. And when they align, they do something like open the door or create a shield or move or float or fall or anything. And, you know, those are pretty simple words, but sometimes you would have to think of not popular words, I would say. And in my opinion, there was a story going on in the background if you were finding notes in this world that you could learn that, I mean, it was a little bit pretentious, sorry. Like, you know, art can free people. Maybe it can. I am a little bit cynical when it comes to that. Maybe because there's one Polish author who is very much regarded as a visionary and a prophet it was a very long time ago. Anyway, I think he was full of bullshit. But going back to my list, if I were to score Typo Man, I would give it like 6.5. I know I'm cheating, but I mean 6 is too low for this game because it's really interesting premise and I really liked this game. But 7 seems a little bit much in my opinion. So yeah, like 6.5, 6+. Next game, Rumu. A game about an appliance, about about what it means to be an AI. It was a game about abandonment and a game about family. And it was very sad and I really liked it. It was beautiful and it's mostly a story about Sabrina, Holmes' AI. and how also Rumu grew as a person, vacuum person. I highly recommend it. I would give it like an 8. I very much like this game, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. Although it had some bugs in certain places where I couldn't proceed, but then usually restarting the game would fix everything. Next game, another walking simulator. Like I said, there were quite a lot of walking simulators for me last year, and Draugen was one of them. It was another game created by the same studio that made Dreamfall. And although I think Draugen is a really beautiful game and very interesting premise, I hated the fact that it's just a walking simulator. It was usually walk from point A to point B, and story happened along the way. There were like a few instances when you had to collect something, but game so plainly showed you where you can find the thing. I wouldn't call them puzzles. There were no puzzles in this game. And like I said, although I really liked how it looked, I really liked the story, I feel like the studio is doing the least effort to create games. I think the fact that there was a trend for walking simulators was a godsend for them. Like, yes, we don't have to think about any puzzles, we can just tell our stories. I liked it, but I would give it a 6. I know there are certain people that think that the game was like a second coming of Christ, but yeah, it was average in my opinion. Another game was very old, but I was thinking about playing it for the longest time, was Among the Sleep. It was a game where you play as a toddler, as a little baby, and you experience the world as this little baby. And this story is also pretty sad because, as it turns out, the baby is in a, let's say, abusive house, and the baby is processing all of everything that is happening in its own way and in its own nightmares. It's very interesting and it's very creative in my opinion, and it's worth checking out. Although it's pretty old and it aged a bit, but it's still very good. If it's ever on sale, I definitely would recommend to check it out. Again, a 7. Like a solid 7. Next game, Old Man's Journey. It was a game that I also wanted to play for the longest time because I found it beautiful and I thought the mechanic was really creative, because there was a story about this old man and he was supposed to travel from his house to somewhere. I'm not going to tell where because let's say it's spoilers. But in order for him to travel, you would have to move parts of the landscape. Like for him to go from one hill to another, you would have to make them cross, like overlap, so he would be able to jump from one to the other. It was so clever. I loved it. But I don't know, the mechanic got a little bit repetitive after some time, and to be honest, I was playing on a PC, but this game was clearly meant to be played on some kind of a touch screen. So if you ever have a chance to play it, do, because it's beautiful. It has fantastic music and okay story. There were certain moments when I thought that this game was really great, but I would rather recommend it for a touch screen than a PC. 6 on a PC. 6 is okay. I think it's okay. It's my opinion after all. Anyway, the next game, another Polish game. I really like playing Polish games because I think our games are pretty good. If you disagree, leave a comment or not. I don't care. I mean, I do care a little bit, but I really find a lot of games that are created here in Poland to be very creative. Some ideas are very, very cool. Anyway, Vanishing of Ethan Carter, right. Also a very beautiful game. A little bit too beautiful for my computer because I had to play on medium quality because otherwise the frame frame rate was dropping dramatically, just awfully. And yeah, very cool story. I very liked it. Very cool puzzles. I think they were very clever. Like the one labyrinth within a house where you had to, by going through the door, you would see a room on the other side of the door, but it didn't have to be the room that should be there. And you would have to match the room with the door. It was so clever. Like, yeah, I think this game was very clever. I really liked the mechanic of discovering how person died. Like, there were certain moments where you would have to think of a sequence of events that led to somebody's death. Also, the twist at the end just got me like, what? Yeah, I really, really like this game. I would give it like a 9. Yes, it's a serious 9 in my list. I really like this game. I really thought it was beautiful. The music was great. The story was great. Everything was great. The voice acting was also fantastic. Love this game. Although it's sad, the game won't be hand-holding you, and that doesn't mean it's very hard. That rather means that sometimes you will get lost on a very big map and you wouldn't know where to go next. I had to use a guide a few times to know where to go next. But still, 9. I really enjoyed this game. I had a lot of fun with it. Very good, very good. You would think I'm biased because it's a Polish game. The next game I really liked because I'm a huge fan of a Cthulhu mythos. Not exactly Lovecraft himself because he was a douche, but Cthulhu. Yep. Very, very much like this. So a game about managing a cult until the old one comes onto the world was a great idea for me. I had a lot of fun with this game and I played it for so many hours. I think it has a very nice graphic design. The only downside of this game is that there are certain aspects that I wish were more worked on. Because you can see that it's an indie game, that it was like a, let's say, a passion project where they just wrote it and released it. I'm not sure if it wasn't even like a result of some game jam. I would have to check that because right now I'm not sure. But yeah, it was lacking in certain aspects, and I think it could have been made a little bit better, like a little bit more time spent on development, but it was still very good and it still gave me hours of fun, and I would give it a 7. My score is basically from 6 to 7. From 6 to 9, sorry, because we had one 9, right? Another adventure game. I struggled a bit with that one as well because it was very philosophical. Cradle. Also on my list for a very long time, and I'm so happy that I managed to play through it. Very existential, very interesting. Interesting ideas, although I wasn't sure about certain stuff. And when I finished the game, I felt like I missed a lot of stuff because I wasn't reading all of the little documents that were scattered around the yurt. And basically at the end of the game showed me all of the stuff that I missed, which was like a dick move. But thanks, game, for telling me that I could have done better. Yeah. What else can I say about this? It was pretty interesting. Horrible voice acting on a part of the protagonist. The supporting characters were much more interesting. There was some stuff that completely just flew over my head. There was probably something about reincarnation. I don't know. I still don't fully understand this game. To be honest, after I finished it, I even went to the Steam forums to see if anybody explained this game, but nobody did. I think I'm just lacking in the brain department to understand this game fully, I guess. Anyway, I would say those were all games that I finished in 2019, because right now there are some gameplays that I started playing in 2019, but I'm still playing it in 2020, like Moonbase, Echo, and Mag Runner. Mag Runner I wanted to play for the longest time. To be honest, a few years ago I tried to finish it, but I got stuck on one puzzle and I just dropped it, and I was like, no, I won't be playing it, it's stupid. But I decided to get back to it, and right now, if there are any moments when I'm stuck, when I don't know how to proceed, I just go to the walkthrough. I don't have any issues with looking for a solution online, because, you know, we live in a world where there are so many games that being stuck in a game and just spending hours trying to solve one puzzle, it's just like a waste of time, in my opinion. I am all for using solutions, using walkthroughs, cheats, trainers, if it makes you have more fun with the game. So if a game is too hard for you and you still want to experience it, you still want it to be a part of a community, I would say go for it. Play that Dark Souls with a bow or something, I don't know. I remember people saying that playing Dark Souls with a ranged weapon is just like playing on cheats. Whatever, do it. Do it what's most fun for you. Don't let other people tell you that something's not fun because it's not hard enough. This is the gatekeeping hill that I want to die on, because I have an older brother who would bully me for playing with cheats. Fuck him. Anyway, play with cheats if that makes you happy. Anyway, so yeah, this was a short, relatively short recap of 2019, and now we'll be moving to 2020. We start this year with Echo, Mag Runner, and Moonbase, and I have a pretty extensive list of games to play. I also keep getting more games on sales. What can you do? But I will be recording still, so don't doubt that. Anyway, I hope I'll see you on my other videos this year, because there will be some. I'll probably continue with the Golf It series, because I'm being pressured by my friends, like peer pressure. But you know what? I have fun editing those videos, but yeah, it's hard. It takes a lot of time. I wish I would have somebody who would help me with that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye!